Hello, Saka. Look a little bit tired, Saka. Are you getting enough sleep? Your build for your characters. For Xiao.
Gladiator of Iridescent, I think.
How about HuTao?
It depends on which account I'm using.
Okay, how about...
Are you just gonna ask me for like every single character?
Why are your eyes closed?
It's because I keep asking you what characters to use all day!
No, that's not it.
Then what is it, Saka?
I'm still horrified that we agreed on something the other day. It's keeping me up at night. Oh, God. The question I get asked most on Twitch is, hey, Seka, what's your blank character build? And I switch my builds consistently. I do a lot of different character builds, and I try a bunch of different things. So what I wanted to say while we're talking about things is I wanted to make sure that you're paying attention, because I'm going to be going over all my characters in 1.4 and making sure that you guys can understand exactly what characters I'm using in 1.4 and what builds I have in 1.4. I'll do this every patch or so you guys can see my builds, so you guys can stay up to date with what I'm doing on different characters, and I'll show you what characters and artifacts that I have. Let's go into it. First in the list, Rosaria, 36-227, using a Blackcliff polearm. I change it out with Xiao all the time. I'm using a 4-piece Blue Rare set with a 7-8-8 talent set. She is at C3 and probably not going any further past that. Next up, we got Xinyan, C6. He is 61, 140, 122. Got a cryo build set. He's using currently 80 of 90 Wolf Gravestone, and of course he is using a 2-piece cryo set with 2-piece Noblesse, so that is his med lead damage. All right, next up we got Xingqiu. Xingqiu is using a 2-piece Hydra, 2-piece Noblesse set, and he's using, of course, a 36 165 with 224 ER with an R5 sacrificial sword. He is at a 111-8, and Xiang's over at 8-8, by the way. Of course, Xingqiu is at C6, and he's using this artifact set right here. Those are the stats. Bennet is going to be at a 41 140 thing with 183 energy recharge. He's currently using Aquila Favonio level 90, and he's going to be using 140 183 with a 4-piece witch set. I can't consistently use 4-piece witch on him because I love it the best. I use them on all accounts. At C5 Bennet and stay at C5 Bennet, and I'm probably not going any further, and I might level up normals later on. Next up, we got Xiao. I'm not really using Xiao too much this month, but when I do use him, I use the Blackcliff polearm on him, so I'll switch it over real quick so you can see the stat ratios. My current stats on my Xiao are 62, 231 with 131 energy recharge, and this is what I have on Xiao right now. I have this plume, which I probably usually use on Mona, but I'm using it right now on him, just for stats, and I'm using the 2-piece Gladiator, 2-piece, Gladiator. And I end up using this piece usually on my Xiao because it has attack percentage, energy recharge, and everything else. So this is where usually his stats are at, like 53, 223, 231. And if I want to, sometimes I switch out my headpiece for this one over here on Fischl, which I'm not using on Fischl. And this one is currently a 78, 182 Xiao with 109. Not the best, but I flip around with artifacts a lot in my Xiao. So that's typically why he just like changes a ton. All right, Mona. I switch off on Mona a lot, but when I do use Mona a ton, what I end up doing is using a 75-165 ratio with main DPS Mona, and I actually use her as a main. I ended up getting C5 Mona recently, and I ended up using her as a main DPS, and I end up going with a 4-piece Hydra set on my Mona. Talents on her right now are 10, 9, and 10 on my talents. So I definitely use her as a main, and she's really, really fun to use, but I definitely need more crit damage on her, and my artifacts have not been the best luck, so I'll try to get some better rolls. Next up, we got HuTao. I use her sometimes. I have a 45-268 ratio on here with 111 energy recharge. I'm using, of course, a 4-piece witch on her and a Staff of Homa at Refine 1 with a 998 talent ratio. Lee, not using her this month, but when I do use her, I'll use her later. Ning Wong. I do use her a lot and end up using a pretty decent set on Ning Wong, but of course I don't have a weapon on her right now. When I do use a weapon on her right now, I think I'm using the Solar Pearl or the Lost Power, depending on when I use her. With a Solar Pearl, her stat ratio is 60-173, which is pretty decent. And she's using a 2-piece Gladiator with a 2-piece Geo set. It's not the best set in the world that I have on her because I kind of move artifacts a lot, but this is what I end up using on her typically. Next up, we got Fischl, which I started using a lot this month, and I started using her with a 59-166 ratio with this set. I ended up using a, Blackcliff Warbow on her a lot, but when I'm not using the Blackcliff Warbow and I end up using a lot more, I am using a Skyhoid Harp, and I end up getting a 81-153 ratio, which I like a lot. It's my favorite build so far this month, and I'm having a ton of fun on her. I'm using the 2-piece Bloodstained and 2-piece Gladiator set like I use normally, and of course she's at C6 with talent level 9, 8, and 6. Next character using is Beidou. I use the same gear on her every month. I end up using my crown Beidou all the time. I ended up using a 29-173 ratio because I'm a mad lad. I just want to see the big ass fucking numbers. Don't really care about anything else. I end up using a Skyward Pride on Beidou, and I might switch over to a different weapon later on. But I use a 2-piece Thundering Fury Step, and I typically go with the 2-piece Noblesse set. But unfortunately, I ran out of Noblesse flowers, and I gave them over to Xiangling this month, so I'm kind of not using a second set bonus on him on my Beidou right now. But I could be switching over to a Gladiator set if I wanted to later on, and then switch that out with Ning if I want to switch up the sets. But I don't really care too much because it doesn't matter that much overall for Beidou. She of course C6 and tons of damage. I use Abadada a lot. She's at C0. When I use Abadada, he's of course at a talent level 9 on his E, and they don't have any other talents on him because there's no reason to do it. I use a Harbinger of the Dawn, and of course I use a 2-piece Archaic Petra, but I don't find the other set bonuses to be super helpful, so I don't really use them, and I try to optimize the stats the best I can. His stats are overall at 52-160 with a Harbinger of the Dawn, so that puts his stat ratio at about, what is that, 78% crit chance with the extra stats from the Harbinger. Sorry, 80%, 160, so it's a perfect 1-2 ratio of my Albedo, and he ends up having 2192 defense, and he does really high damage overall. My Zhongli right now is at 38-178, and he is using a Lithic Spear, and I keep the Lithic Spear at R5 on him typically because I just find it to be a better weapon than using the Homa because I like it on HuTao way more, and using a 2-piece Geo set with a 2-piece Noblesse set. I end up using a C1, I have a C1 on him, and of course I have 6, 8, 9 on my Zhongli, and I do have a Fischl Zhongli build that's completely different. This is my Asia account, but this is my current main account build. Venti, I'm using with a 488 on talents. He's Constellation 0, and artifacts he's going to be rocking a 4-piece Viridescent set. This 4-piece Viridescent set is going to be rocking a 29-151 ratio with a super weird transfer damage ratio. But unfortunately, I just don't have this desire to build into Venti any further. And he of course is using a stringless at R5 with 89. Next we got Jean, and I typically use the Skyward Blade on Jean because I just like the energy recharge on it, and it's really fun to use. Overall, she is at a 46-142 ratio with 165 energy recharge, and she's using 4-piece Viridescent, and I use this character to boost out Anemo on a lot of different teams, and this is typically what I end up going with. She was only at 6, 6, and 9, and of course I have a C3 Jean because pulls were crazy recently, and I ended up getting a C3 Jean randomly, and it's actually a very fun build. And I was considering building a nuke build on Jean, but we'll have to see as time goes on. Next up, we have Ganyu, and Ganyu I typically use at C0, of course, and she's at a 45-193 ratio with an Amos bow at R4 because pulls have been crazy lately, and I'm only getting Amos bows. I don't know why, kind of weird, but I'm ended up using a 4-piece Wanderer set on my Ganyu right now, and because I have really low crit chance on my Ganyu, I feel like I need a little bit more, and I feel like if I wanted to work on Ganyu, I definitely need to. I end up only having talent 8 on her, and I need to work on that a little bit more, but I find that I really wanted to work on Rosaria this month, and chat really wanted to see me work on Rosaria, so I ended up not putting any talents to finalize my Ganyu, and ended up prioritizing Rosaria instead, and I'm going to stay on that path. Next up, we got Diluc. Not building him, not using him right now. Use him every so often, but when I do, he uses the same artifacts as my HuTao, just with the sands that's a little bit different, usually with this Royal Pocket Watch or something else that I'll just flip over somebody else. Next up, we got Xiangling, who's using a 4-piece Lava Walker set on my main account, but I end up using 4-piece Witch or 2-piece Witch on other accounts, depending on which account I use, and these 2-piece Noblesse with Witch all the time. I end up using a Skyward Spine on 2 of my accounts with the Xiangling because I find it to be her best weapon because energy recharge is king on Xiangling. Buffonius weapon is a good subset. Talent-wise, it's 8-8 pretty much on every account, except for one of my accounts where she has high normal attacks, and of course she's 6-6 on my main account, and super good. Overall, stat ratio-wise, she's at 62-100, not very high. She's really low on her stat ratios, but I don't really care too much because Lava Walker is Copium Walker anyway, so who cares? As long as I have a decent overall artifact set on her, she does fine damage. It doesn't really have to build. And I don't really think I have any other characters that I'm using this month. Let me just double check. All right, so that's it for my main account. I'll switch to my other accounts. On my free-to-play account right now, what I have is, this is my entirely free-to-play account at AR55 right now. I'm named it Enviosity because it's literally free-to-play, and I never spend money on it. We have, first up, we have Xiao with a 56-241 ratio on my free-to-play account. I'm using a Blacklit full arm with a 2-piece Anemo, 2-piece Gladiator set, and I ended up going with an energy recharge stands, which is the only thing that's kind of off meta that I've been using to get me this ER over here, but it ends up getting a really high ratio. Blacklight Polearm at R1, and talents, I'm running at 988 on my talents. I'll probably upgrade the E and the Q sometime near the end of this month, and I'll get both of those maxed out, but I have no desire to do so right now because I kind of want some for bond pay. Next up, we got Xingqiu on this free-to-play account. Of course, he's at C0. and I of course have 8 in on the talents. My artifact set for him is a 2-piece Noblesse and 2-piece Hydro set. I was using an R3 sacrificial sword, my completely free-to-play account, and I was a 33-130 ratio with 193 energy recharge. Next up, we got Xiangling, and this one is at a 52-114 ratio with 139 energy recharge with a Favonius Lance, as I mentioned, great weapon for Xiangling. And she's using a Copium Walker set as well because I ended up having the set, so why not? I probably should upgrade this artifact at some point, but it sucks, so I didn't do it. Next up, we got Bennet, who's using a 4-piece Witch set, and he's currently using a Festering Desire, which is the primary weapon I use on Bennet without using any other weapon. He's currently at a 52-118 ratio with 188 energy recharge, and he's at 8, 8, and 9 ratio, talents with Constellation 2. Next up, we got Kaeya. Kaeya is at C2. He is going to be at a 10-10-10 talent ratio with a 4-piece Cryo set and using a Aquila Favonia. I don't have any other weapons, so I can't do anything there. He's at a 20-159 ratio with 140 energy recharge and a 152 EM. Next up, we got Venti, and Venti is using a 28-155 ratio with 144 energy recharge using a Stringless, and ended up using a 4-piece Viridescent, just getting a lot of energy recharge naturally. Don't really need it. It's actually overkill at Venti. I ended up getting a talent level 8 on him with level 1 auto attacks, and of course C0 Venti. Next up, we have Chong, and Chong's at C1 on my free-to-play account with talent levels 8, 8, and 8, and I find this talent level 8 would be super helpful. I ended up like not doing this on one of my accounts, and I found this was to be a mistake, so I ended up getting it, starting focusing on normals again. Normals on Chong are awesome. I ended up going for Chong on my free-to-play account with a 2-piece Gladiator set and 2-piece Cryo set with the overall ratios again at 32-162. Next up, we have Amber. Amber I'm still using all the time. She has a 22% crit ratio with 184 crit damage, 105 energy recharge, and 283 elemental mastery. She's a sharpshooter oath, and of course she's using a 4-piece wanderer set with an attack percentage sans, not EM sans. But of course, I just cannot for the life of me get a good piece, and I just said fuck it. Just is what it is, and sometimes you get shit on for your Amber. Xinyan, I ended up starting building her, but again, I have some artifacts built, and I just will work on them later. But I ended up optimizing for Geo Traveler, and I started working for Geo Traveler instead. And because I was working on Geo Traveler, I'm using a 59-190 ratio on him. I don't really have good stuff on him, but he's using a level 70 prototype ranker because I just don't care about his overall artifacts and talents. I kept them at 6, 6, and 6. Constellation 6, obviously, because he's a god. Then we got Qiqi. Qiqi's using a 0 set, and you know what? I actually have the wrong weapon on my Qiqi. There we go. Now I have the correct weapon on my Qiqi. Sorry, my bad. Right, moving on. Then we got Sucrose. Sucrose on my my free-to-play account, I have a Sacrificial Fragments and almost the same build on her on both accounts, but I'm trying to build a 4-piece Viridescent set. I just ended up not getting what I needed. I think I need an Viridescent Plume, and I just haven't gotten an EM one yet, but I'm going for high EM ratios on my Sucrose. I have about 503 right now, and I ended up getting about 140 energy recharge. I'm trying to optimize both energy recharge and elemental mastery, while also going for the C2 Sucrose and optimizing the E and the Q as best I can, but I have still to work on it a lot. My Mona on my free-to-play account, I haven't really worked on at all. I've kind of just like let her go by the wayside, and I haven't really touched her. And all the other characters I've kind of just not built into and just starting to build slowly. Last account of the day, and my last account that I have is my Battle Pass and Welkin only account. This account is on Asia server, and I use it all the time. This account, as far as weapons, artifacts, and stuff goes, I'm currently using a Blackcliff R5, and this is on a Battle Pass Welkin only account. Yes, I went for this weapon. I went hard for this weapon. It's really worth it. I have a 43-186 ratio on my Traveler with 122 energy recharge, 93 EM because I got cucked in the thing today. She's crowned on their E, and of course level 9 on the ulti with level 6 here. I will probably be working on this one at some point soon. I just haven't got around to it. Next up, we got Xingqiu, who is at talent level 9 on the Rain Starters and talent level 8 here with Constellation 4 Xingqiu. He is an artifact set with a 2-piece Hydro, 2-piece Gladiator set, and his current artifact ratio are going to be 29-167 with 211 energy recharge. He only has an R2 Sacrificial Sword, and I'm probably going to be optimizing on trying to get more refines on Sacrificial Swords on weapon banners, just because I feel like this is the weapon to go for. Next up, we got Xiangling. Xiangling on this account, of course, as R2 Skyward Spine again, because, you know, just weird stuff happens on this account. This is my best Xiangling, I believe, at 32-169, and she's at 142 energy recharge. Her artifact build is going to be a 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Witch. The reason I went with Gladiator is because I went with Noblesse on a different character, and I ended up moving my Noblesse pieces over to them instead of keeping on Xiangling. And she's at C4, and she ends up getting a 9, 7, and 9 talent ratio. I'm going to be focusing on the Global Bear to get to level 9 as well, and that's where my talents are going to go for all my claws, and I'll probably finish her at 999. For Bennet, I ended up on my Asia account having 688 on my talents. I ended up having a Constellation 2 Bennet with artifact build again, 4-piece Witch, and my overall stat ratio is going to be 26 and 144 with 194 energy recharge with a Festering Desire R5. Next up, we got Zhongli with my physical build on Zhongli. This is going to be my alternate build. He is going to be a Crescent Pike with 45, 161 ratio, and his artifact set is going to be a 2-piece Gladiator and 2-piece Bloodstained Chivalry set, and talent level is going to be Crowned Autos with 6 and 6 on the other parts of it. Next up, we got HuTao on my Asia server account. She's got 888 ratios, Constellation 0, of course. Artifacts on her is going to be a 2-piece Witch set and 2-piece Wanderer set, and she's going to be using a Staff of Homa. Her overall stat ratios are at 51, 250, 113 energy recharge, and 141 in Elemental Mastery. Next up, I'm working on my Albedo slowly on my Asia server account. I have 57% crit, but I ended up getting a Harbinger of the Dawn, of course, with an R5, and I'm still working on getting better pieces for him, but he's at since he's at 57% here, he's actually got way worse stats than I would like, unfortunately, and his headpiece, of course, I'm using a crit rate headpiece because I have to go back to the Archaic Petro Domain, try to get a defense percentage headpiece, or try to get some kind of piece to make him a little bit better, but his defense percentage is significantly lower than I'd like, so I probably have to work him a little bit more. Next up, we got Keqing, and if Keqing, of course, is using a 61 208 ratio with 116 energy recharge and 138 elemental mastery. She's using a black sword. I'm refining black swords on this account, trying to get a maximized black sword in general, and of course, I'm using a 4-piece or even a 5-piece Thunder Soother. So half the time I go with an electro build, the other half the time I go with a physical build, and I have another Fizz Cup that I use on the side, but this I usually go with an electro build for Keqing because I just find it to be better. So that's C0, and I feel like Thunder Soother is just a better artifact set to go for because Thundering Fury is really easy to obtain on other characters and use it better for them. Next up, we got Noelle with a 2-piece set here. She's level 80. I honestly think she's my best character. Honestly, level 80 White Blind, and I'll probably work on her later. Next up, we got Rosaria on Asia server. I'm using a deathmatch on her, and the reason I ended up with a deathmatch on her is because I like the 81-143 ratio. It ended up becoming a better weapon for her as a sub DPS, and I've kept going with a 2-piece cryo set, and I'm trying to work toward a 2-piece noblesse set on the other side of things, but I ended up not getting the ratios that I really wanted for all the pieces, so I'll probably have to work on that going forward. She currently has a 988 ratio, and I was going for Constellation 1, but I ended up not getting it, so it didn't work out that way, so I kind of had to go by the wayside. Next up, we got Chong. I'm starting to work on him on my Asia server account with level 5 talent or level 4 talents across the board, but I ended up just giving him artifacts, and he's got a 1388 ratio, super mad lad with a Lava Walker set. Yeah, I'm going to be using Lava Walker Chong. I'm actually going to start building this really soon, and it's going to be really fun to build out, and I'm not sure what weapon I want to use on him, but I think I'm going to be going for an R3 Lithic Blade and just see if the weapon kind of works out to my favor. I might go with other weapons, but I feel like the R3 Lithic Blade is going to be the way to go because I use a lot of leeway teams, and Rosaria on that team is going to be like the only Monside character besides Bennet, so 2 characters might be okay. We'll see. I just got Diona, so I don't really have anything for her, and for Fischl, I'm not working on him, and these are the other characters that I haven't really worked on yet. All these characters are very low level, so I haven't touched them at all, and I'll probably work on them soon, but Xiangling's my next baby. All right, guys, well, that's all my builds for 1.4. Let me know what you guys think about these builds in the comments section down below. I'm going to be working on other characters that I wanted to work on my main account, Asia server account, NA account, all that stuff. But let me know what you guys think, and if this was helpful, if you guys wanted me to do this every patch, I can do out different builds every patch for different characters I'm using and show you what I'm going to be using every patch going forward. But thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all the fun stuff. You guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.